Good evening, everybody. This is V Dravidians TV, Dravidam for India movement. Today we have a nice guest from Chennai, Dr. Ezhilan Naganathan, a Dravidian ideologist, a doctor by his profession, also a social engineer by his selfless social activities. One of the important speakers in social media and the TV debates for Dravidam Munnetra Kazhagam. Let us welcome Dr. Ezhilan Naganathan.
Hello, Kadir.
Vanakkam, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, this show in English, sir. So we start with Tamil since it's a welcome note. So as the subject about the Dravidian contribution, Dravidian movement contribution to the nation. So we are going to start from the Justice Party. You can give a small introduction to the Pan India audience by yourself, sir.
I'm Dr. Ezhilan. I'm a doctor by profession. I had my medical undergraduate MBBS degree from Madras Medical College. I entered into Madras Medical College through reservation system. I was able to regain my right, which was lost for many 2000 years back. Then I entered into my post-graduation MD degree in internal medicine. Then I attended my thesis in pesticide poisoning. Then I was working for a mission hospital for the past 10 years. Now I'm a consultant physician in Kaveri Hospital. That's about it.
That's great, sir.
And
so we go to the subject directly.
And I run a youth org, a social organization for empowerment of youth, especially for integrating scientific temper, and in order to educate the younger generation about the principles of social justice and caste eradication. There are about 4,500 volunteers across 15 districts of Tamil Nadu.
So that's why we mentioned you. Though you are a doctor, you are an engineer by social engineering, social activities. Anyway, so we thanks for your introduction, sir. We go into the subject directly. Sir, this Dravidian movement is more than 100 years old. This is founded almost same time when this Hindutva movements, Hindutva group organization been founded in India. But we are inside Tamil Nadu only. Post the linguistic state separation, we are contained in Tamil Nadu only. But we have our impact. We have our contribution to the nation as well. So we start from the Justice Party time, pre-independence time, British India time. So we go from one by one. We have four or five questions for you, sir. One is about the Justice Party contribution to the nation. It's all the same, but we are go ahead with the period of time. One is about the Justice Party thing. Another thing, Periyar time, Dravidar Kazhagam time. What kind of impact he had created throughout the nation? What kind of the vibration he created in India by his speeches and his ideology. And post DMK founded, when Anna got elected as a member of parliament, and his speeches, what kind of an impact it had created throughout the nation, and Kalinga time. So this is around four segments we have to discuss. So we'll go with Justice Party time, sir. We can go ahead about. We can talk about the Justice Party, how it had founded, and what kind of an
impact.
Yeah, the Justice Party brought in the first reservation in India. So that kind of a thing we would like to listen from you.
Ideally, I would quote Baba Sahib Ambedkar, and one quote he says, the entire history of India can be written between a fight between Brahmanism and Buddhism. See, we draw our inspiration from the Buddhism. The first de-Brahmanization movement happened in India. First type of progressive movement, Buddha came out in establishment of Sangha, where he developed social justice program in his Sangha. Then he was able to identify the main crux of the problem of the Indian society, where this caste structure system, this Brahmanism thought, which is really serves only a minority people, and they converted a tool in order to make the rest of the population as slaves with a graded hierarchy system. So based on scientific foundations, rationalism, and thinking of scientific temper, Buddha developed this virtue. So this virtue was taken up by Ashoka, then he implemented Buddhist way of functioning. The social justice program was just implemented during that period of Mauryan dynasty, where India actually thrived well. Then after the destruction came into the Gupta period, where again the counter-revolution, where Brahmanism became more codified in the form of caste, in the form of structure, where Manudharma was implemented and was forced by the kings to implement in all segments of the society. And the rigid system is still prevailing in all ways of life. What does this rigid system implies is it gives religious sanctions based on scriptures, identify one superhuman concept to a Brahminical caste based on birth, and a graded hierarchy system down under. Servile classes always should be slaves and work for them. And those who resisted were pushed against the mainframe of the structure and were treated as untouchables. So in this scheme of things, we have a lot of resistance movements across this part of the country. We had a Kabir movement in northern India. Then we had a Mahatma Phule movement, Dr. Ambedkar movement in Maharashtra. We had Narayana Guru movement in Kerala. Then we had the Basava movement in Karnataka. So various type of resistance. Wherever this resistance to this Brahminical domination appeared, the working classes emerged, the servile classes emerged as champions, and they were responsible for inclusive development in some parts of the segments. So I would suggest this part, especially the southern part of India, especially Tamil Nadu, had its origins from the Dravidian concept of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. So as you rightly pointed out, in early as 1924, John Marshall, whenever the first archaeologists of India who excavated and found out there is a new civilization unearthed in 1925, the Harappa Mohenjo-daro Harappa civilization, and he determined that this civilization is somewhere much more prehistoric and nothing related to Sanskrit civilization at all. This falls in lines with during the early part of 19th century, where Robert Caldwell gave this Dravidian comparative grammar, where he confirmed that Dravidian language, Tamil, as a mother of the Dravidian language, and it stood independent of removing the Sanskrit. He desancretized Tamil, and he found that Tamil stood when compared to the rest of the language, and he found out a separate family. So this scientific discoveries led by John Marshall and the linguistic separate identity provoked the intellectual class of the then Madras presidency. Then when Britishers administration was able to give us data about the Tahsildar occupation in their British rule, and routine administrative posts were belonging to few segments of the family generations together, this provoked the sentiments of the non-Brahmin movement of Tamil Nadu. So in the preliminary stages, it was splintered. Later, it had to have some type of consolidation. So people, especially T.M. Nair, the Three Musketeers, Sarpiti Tyagarajan, then Dr. Natesanar, the initial skeleton, they formed the initial skeleton for the South India Liberation Front. So when the South India Liberation Front was formed, and the non-Brahmin manifesto was carved in order to identify the data collection approaches were responsible. So initially, authentication, Britishers gave us the way of education to authenticate and to speak by facts. So the era of data came during the Justice Party rule. So why Justice Party? Is because of their periodical justice. So Justice Journal was able to give data about the positions of power, occupation, and the Brahminical domination in all post as well as in all education institutes during then. That data was responsible for enlightening the backward classes. Oh, then they realized, oh, we have been enslaved directly, indirectly, in religious spheres, in cultural spheres, and they were able to give a scientific explanation to that. Prior to Justice Party, there was something called a Free Thinker Society in Tamil Nadu, which is known as Logigi Ekam in Tamil Nadu during early part of the 18th century, which gave scientific journals. And before that, strong proponents like Ayodhya Dasar was able to give some scientific data in his magazine Tamilan and One Paisa Tamilan, where the Dravidian ethos was much more foundation on cultural aspects. Then he developed something called Tamil Bautvam. Then he told that the concept of Dravidian word was enshrined. So these cultural spheres domination evolved naturally into a political confirmation. So when you see the civil society reformation of the European society, it was the cultural renaissance which predated the political renaissance. So in Tamil society, there's a constant amount of cultural renaissance against the Brahminical hegemony were still persistent. That lead to the formation of a political necessity, which was naturally Justice Party. So when Justice Party came into existence, so there was couple of non-Brahmin intellects, educated people wanted to participate in the segment. So they understood the basis of Brahminical domination, because the Britishers initially didn't want to disturb the internal architecture or internal traditions of the Indian state during their administration. They educated the British administrators about the ill effects of the caste system, how a particular community is dominating all ways of life. So Britishers came and got oriented because of the information of the English-speaking non-Brahmin intellects of the Justice Party. So that summation point immediately provoked the Brahmins in order to provoke the self-help home rule movement by Annie Besant, and in the form of early Congress. And that is the friction between the Congress and Justice Party, early Congress and Justice Party, because Justice Party was able to identify the Brahminical agenda and was able to explain to the British the exploitative nature of this particular community over other communities, and they are able to prove that this is not the typical elite communities of the Western world, which really paved way for the and served as a ladder for the serving classes. They're able to explain that this particular elite community stops and blocks the masses from inclusive development. So Justice Party agenda was very clear. So they had an engaging model after the Montague-Chelmsford reforms came in, when electoral politics came into, and when the electorate was limited to only to educate people. Among all the presidencies, Madras presidencies was definitely occupied by Justice Party. So when Justice Party came into rule, now their principle is to implement the non-Brahmin manifesto into action. So it was an integration point of both backward classes as well as the depressed classes. So we had people like MC Raja, then we had constant engagement by Rettamale Srinivasan into the Justice Party fold during the initial years, so that they are able to form this non-Brahmin manifesto, and they gave a structure of governance to this. So what is the impact? See, the impact is, I would like to give some few data during the Justice Party rule, especially in 1881. I'm going to give a statistical data released by the then British government, GEO, which gives about the government positions. See, what is the percentage of Brahmins during the Madras presidency, or then the Madras presidency combination of the entire South Indian states, was 3.6%. But people who have receiving more than 10 rupees as the monthly salary, 42% of them was occupied by 3.6% of the Brahmin community. 10 rupees less salary income, around 4.4% was occupied by the Brahmin communities. So around totally 19% of the workforce was occupied by 3% of population. Or other caste Hindus were occupying morely there, the population is 87.9% during point of time. Their 10 rupees above slab salary, they were occupied only 36%, and 10 rupees below salary was occupied by 67%. Then they give also the strata for the religious minorities, especially Christians as well as the Muslims. Then they were 8% of the population. Then they were occupied less than 9% above 10 rupees salary criteria, and less than 21% below the 10 rupees criteria. So this domination, this circular created ripples. How come a 3% population was occupying more than 40 to 50% of the government jobs? So that forms as a crust, and they started initiating this communal GEO, the famous communal GEO of Justice Party, since its inception in 1921. But immediately didn't turn up in 1921. It had to pass nearly 6 to 7 years before implementation. Around 1928, the first communal GEO was implemented by a minority Justice Party government. It was Muthaiya Mudaliar was the revenue minister who implemented this reservation in that particular department at the beginning, where they gave a reservation for according to population census. So suppose if the first was for around say 10 for 12 seats, for 12 occupation seats, they gave 5 seats to especially 12 posts in government sector, they gave 2 posts to Brahmins, 2 posts to Muslims, 2 posts for Anglo-Indians, and 1 post for untouchables, and 5 posts for non-Brahmin Hindus, which was reflective. When you convert it to a percentage, to a people percentage, then Brahmins received nearly 16.6%, 41% for the non-Brahmins, Muslims 16.6, Europeans, other Anglo-Indians 16.6, and for untouchables 8.4. So in the communal GO, the entire communal GO, it had reservation even for Brahmins as well as non-Brahmins, including depressed classes, including religious minorities. After implementation of this GO, from 1900 to 1940, there was a rapid shift of job occupancy during that point of time. In 1900, the post of Tahsildar equivalent, the non-Brahmins were around 17, Brahmins were around 41. In 1940, the non-Brahmins occupied 26 of the post, where Brahmins occupied only 36. Then the salary denomination, from around the ratio of 10 to 20% of more than 100 rupees salary, and between 35 to 100 rupees salary, the representation of the Brahmins as well as non-Brahmins, more or less it was equal in 1940 after the implementation of the communal GO. Not only it was restricted to occupations in the post of administration, but also this communal GO roster was implemented in educational institutions also. So initially there was a rule for all of higher education was Sanskrit to be a compulsory subject for entering into any of the college stream. Sanskrit professors were given higher salary when compared to the other language professors. Then Justice Party took into consideration and gave an order that even Tamil professors should be treated in par of Sanskrit professors, and they removed a criteria that Sanskrit shouldn't be a passing subject for entering into professional education. It was brought out by Panagala Arasar. So let us assess the impact of Justice Party. Are you there, Sundar? I'm not able to hear you. Hello? Hello?
Sir, I'm here, sir. I'm here. You go ahead, sir, because it was a long talk, so you will be full screen. That is why. You go ahead, sir.
No issues. So from 1919 to 1920, there were only 1,600 schools in Madras Presidency. After Justice Party came in 1927, the number of schools were increased to 50,941. See the impact. From 1,600 schools, Justice Party administration increased the schools to 50,941. It never happened in any of the presidencies under the British rule, except here. Why schools? I'm talking about the Todakapalligal. I'm starting off the primary schools. The numbers is for the primary schools. So deliberately primary schools were not opened because of the then Brahminical bureaucracy in the Madras Presidency, preventing the education to receive the downtrodden society. Okay, that was broken. In 1919 and 1920, the student enrollment was just 66,000 for the primary school as well as the high school. But after Justice Party, it was increased to 24,40,847. Imagine the impact.
So these all achievements, these all achievements happened only in Madras Presidency. That is what you mean?
Yes, yes. We are talking about the impact of when Justice Party impact on suppose an inclusive development arises when inclusive representation is there in rural, right? So we have Justice Party representation of both backward classes, as well as dispersed classes, as well as religious minorities. That is the main fulcrum of the communal GO. And first, the Hindu Temple Protection Act was began because they thought that each temple was serving only few families based on the donations given by the commoners for the temple of worship. So in order to regulate that, they gave the Hindu religious endowment. The name Panjamas were changed into a name of Adi Dravidar because of the impact of M.C. Raja and Rattamali Srinivasar. They made the change of Panjamar and introduced a concept called Adi Dravidar for the untouchables. It was more relevant because if you're able to read Early Indians by Tony Joseph, where we see out of Africa migrants early Indians which were settled down south. Then we have the second Iranian farmers during early Arapas joined together. Then the 2,500 years we had the Aryan migration inside influx into this part of the subcontinent. So this early Indians, I would say, I think this principle of terming Adi Dravidar is for the to understand the man in mind concept, the sons of the soil concept. So the name was Adi Dravid given to the untouchables because untouchables were given in a more or less in a very bad shape in rest of the country, but in a linguistic and racial identity was given were empowered to untouchables here in Madras presidency during the Justice Party rule. Then see in those days the education, school education, especially what are the impact of Dr. Ambedkar happened during his education in Bombay presidency during his school days. Your Justice Party was a government was in place. They allowed all children, including Adi Dravidar children, to get educated into the mainstream right from school as well as in high school. And all this routine civil society reformation, that is utilization of the commonwealth in the villages, utilization of the common pathways in the villages, were just like that implemented as government GOs by the local government or the provincial government run by Justice Party. See, in Travancore, Tandai Periyar had to create a struggle in form of the Congress Party. He went there and fought for the passage of Edava communities during the Vaikam struggle, right? But here in Tamil Nadu, it was like in this part, the non-Travancore Madras presidency part, it was like the government order was there because of Justice Party was in power, was able to implement the passages for common for all communities. And the famous Devadasi scheme was completely abolished during this particular rule. So here we see what we say. Here we see a social movement converted to a political movement, and political movement came into power and implemented drastical educational reforms as well as social sector reforms in Madras presidency. When compared to other presidencies, Calcutta or Delhi or Bombay, we were literally 30 or 40 years ahead when compared to the rest of the part. So that foundations of socio-political nexus were laid on by Justice Party. As usual, as if for any political organization, it has its own ifs and buts, a lot of creeping nature, downfall. There are ideologies where the ideologies have put into backseat. Actually, Justice Party had its downfall and it was defeated in the year 1937. But the impact of Justice Party rule from earliest when they started as the non-Brahmin manifesto, as the South Indian Liberation Front, occupation of share, I think we can't simply write off their impact and their foundations in the Tamil society.
So that's the reason why Dravidar Kazhagam has been formed by Periyar. That is what you are concluding.
See, actually, if you see, if you're going to talk about the history of Justice Party, the Congress had to find some type of resistance. See, there was a famous English saying, no, there is no present, there is no future. Only the past comes and again and again. Now, imagine the Brahminical organization of RSS, which is really running this orchestra, the entire Indian democracy through BJP. What they did, RSS thought that no more only forward committee leaders should lead this BJP, because in order to win electoral politics, they have to rope in non-Brahmin leaders into the flow who will follow RSS ideology. So Modi and Amit Shah were the pick of RSS so that they will implement the RSS ideology much more stronger with electoral politics, with the summation of OBC and Dalit communities. That's a major formula, right? Same ideology of Rajaji during the Congress period, during the success of Justice Party at its peak, they decided that their faces won't win for them. So they started bringing in lot of non-Brahmin leaders into the Congress fold during the success regime of Justice Party. Periyar was innocent enough during the early period. He thought he believed Gandhi actually. We all believed Modi once, right? All the OBCs believed Modi, right? Similar that Periyar believed Congress agenda of because he saw a change in Gandhi because Gandhi stood for certain civil society reforms. But end of the day, after entering into the Congress, uh, the non-Brahmin segment of Congress was strengthened by Periyar. Periyar did his hard work in Congress. People used to say when Periyar was heading the Congress as a general secretary, the juniors like of Kamaraj were like the small district level leaders were recruited by seeing Periyar. So Periyar literally strengthened Congress. And that was also a reason for electoral defeat of Justice Party later. But Periyar's role was to recruit a lot of non-Brahmin leaders into the Congress fold. So whatever the Congress, whether it's the Qadar movement of Gandhi or prohibition impact, wherever across the entire presidency, I'm talking about the national contribution, how Periyar played a role in order to, he literally resigned from all his privileged positions, everything, joined Congress as a commoner. With the Qadar, he walked all across the parts of Tamil Nadu selling Qadar because Gandhi said so. He literally burned all his plantations, especially coconut plantations, as well as his panai plantations because of the anti-Todi agitations. Then when British arrested his wife and his sister led the agitations, it was because of Gandhi's call. So he believed that Gandhi will form a change. But later he realized, again, Gandhi is just a face value. He was brought in just as a face value to absorb the masses. It was a clever ploy of the Brahmins of the Congress to project Gandhi as a face value. And they convinced Gandhi about the caste system. They convinced Gandhi the sanction of this caste system. So Gandhi had to play a role of Banya Sameshan. Then he had to appeal all type of dramatics for the untouchables, where only two persons in the entire country exposed that. One was Periyar and was Dr. Ambedkar. So the same criteria was there during the Justice Party time. So when Periyar was suspended, he saw that his communal reservation GO was not accepted by the Congress. And the Chairman Mahadevi hostel issue really created ripples. Even after Vaikam's struggle, where constantly Tilagar was there in Maharashtra warning Congress against his reforms, against the social reforms. He literally warned Congress that you shouldn't go for social reform, otherwise he will oppose Congress. He made that Congress doesn't move from his agenda which was prescribed to him. But here Periyar in Madras Presidency was sustainably fighting for communal GO resolution support from the Congress. He didn't get it. Then he decides in 1925 to walk out of the Congress. That this agenda is very clear by the Congress. So he plays his spy agenda of destroying Congress, destroying Brahminism, destroying Gandhi, destroying the caste hierarchy system, and he walked out and he started the self-respect movement. So that self-respect movement came in during the Justice Party plateau and the decline period. And there was Congress with its Brahminical forces were gaining their strength in Madras Presidency. At this point of time, Justice Party was completely dismantled. It was in ruins. No one was willing to, it was in chaos and confusion. Then Aringaranna was a traveler of Justice Party. Even Anna during his college days was an active member of Justice Party. For translating work of the justices, for translating and making translation work and literally recruiting youngsters into the Justice Party. Even Anna Arigaranna participated in a local body election where he was defeated under Justice Party tag. He participated in Chennai. You know what was the campaign when run against him? Because Anna spoke in a meeting saying that all the lamps used for the temple should be used for educating the poor people, especially the street lamps. So that is the caption. They put it as poster. The Congress people put it as poster to defeat Anna during the Justice Party early period. So Anna was traveling in Justice Party. He was working with Justice Party. He was the intellectual youth wing for the Justice Party. People questioned Anna. You are saying you are a commoner, but your Justice Party has become a privileged party. It is a privileged party of Jamindars. How will you change? But Anna said, wait, my travel here is to change this party architecture. That was Anna's thought. And Periyar self-respect movement was stronger. It was evolving in the period of from 1925 for 20 years. A radical reformation movement sample or prototype is Periyar self-respect movement. Any model you want to do a radical reformation movement is Periyar self-respect movement, which was started in 1925. So, in the women emancipation and empowerment, eradication of untouchability, caste eradication, inculcating scientific temper, all multi-pronged attack was developed during the self-respecter movement and their grassroots activism at all levels, village levels, urban levels, everything. So Periyar's hard work along with the self-respecters was driving force for the past 20 years. So the decline of Justice Party, the ascent of self-respecter movement, the ascent of power lobby of Congress necessitated the leadership change. So it was Anna's role with Periyar in conversion of Justice Party into Dravidian Nadu, where the Dravidian Nadu state was their main principle, but they were able to give the agenda behind it. It will be a casteless state. It will be based on self-respect. It has geographical boundaries where human can live with dignity and freeness. These concepts are quite Anna didn't Anna and Periyar, they able to trace their concepts not from the West or not from the Western, but they developed this concept from early Buddhist tradition, from the early Harappas, as well as from the Sangam, pre-Sangam era, where Tamils had a casteless, self-respect way of life. They want to reinvent it in a modern way to that. So that was the agenda they created. So it was Anna's plan. It was very clearly acknowledged by Periyar himself about this Anna's plan to pass, or Anna's resolution, where all this caste affix, everything should be removed. The commoners should have representation, and that's the start of Dravida Kazhagam. So I would say Dravida Kazhagam is a combo of self-respecters in addition to a geographical, political, and linguistic identity. So we have a scientific, rational, aggressive youth movement in coupled with a socio-political cause, and that is the exact summation point of Periyar and Aringer Anna. So it is a cycle, right? So when the non-Brahmin movement had a low point, there are some champions in order to hold it up. So that's what happened in formation of the Dravida Kazhagam.
Okay, how Periyar tried to reach out his ideology throughout India. I think he had taken some important steps traveling across India.
See, Periyar, regarding impact in India, yeah. Oh, my illumination is fine.
Some light would have been better in your face, sir. I think it's going very dark now. It could not able to see your face.
Yeah, I understand. Is it okay? I have to hold my phone. Sorry.
Okay. If you're holding, then it will become uncomfortable for you.
Yeah, I'll try to pick up
better
another
than
position.
Okay. If it is good to go, you can go. No problem. Go ahead.
So it's all right. Yeah, it's good to go.
Yes, sir. Yeah, okay, sir. Go ahead, sir.
So, see, Periyar role in national, what Periyar has his role to give as a nation, because Periyar had a constant engagement with all the reformist movements across the nation as well as across the globe, I would say. So Periyar self-respect movement, Vaikam struggle was very much surmountable. See, when Janpat Tadok Mandal, which was the backward class progressive intellectuals, were running this organization for eradication of the caste. Because there were a lot of reformist movement then in the Indian society. We have a lot of Samaj, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Dayananda Saraswati. We were trying to reform or even Vivekananda within the framework of the Hindu religion.
Exactly.
And the main crux is Periyar and Dr. Ambedkar said within this crux of this Hindu religion, you can't do any type of framework. All we're talking about reformation without altering the caste system. They want to retain the caste system because they are a segment of the hierarchy system. Kabir, where radical reformists want to dismantle this caste structure, and the rest of the reformers very well know, the pseudo reformers, who want to retain the caste system. When the caste
They say they want to play a safe game, so
system, and
they don't
actually,
want to touch the.
No, it's simple. It's simple. They are very clear in their agenda. See, even if any form of progressive concept, I have to do. For every player, I have to be the main part. That's the agenda. So that agenda, I see that they have not. Everyone should not disturb this caste system. That's the main aim for all the reformers then. So if you're able to understand the if you're able to understand the decolonization of history of India, people who are able to eradicate this caste system were the true reformers of this particular part of the continent. So, if you're able to understand this, then you'll able to understand when Janpat Tadok Mandal, Periyar was one of the chairman of Janpat Tadok Mandal, which he gave some valid suggestions to them for the reform. Then, and subsequently, in the subsequent years, when Dr. Ambedkar was invited to lead the position of Janpat Tadok Mandal, Ambedkar gave a document called Annihilation of Caste for Janpat Tadok Mandal. But to shock of Ambedkar, his lecture was written back stating that they had some apprehensions about the few approaches given for Ambedkar for eradication of caste. What was that? Ambedkar told, as long as you are going to uphold the scriptures, as long as you are going to uphold the idols, we can't eradicate caste. In order to eradicate caste, we have to remove the scriptures which codifies caste. Well, maybe the Vedas or Upanishads or Gitas, whatever may be, whichever which upholds the sanctity or which speaks the purity of caste should be eradicated, and that is the starting point of caste eradication. So people really thought that was really aggressive, and they wanted Ambedkar to censor that. Ambedkar refused. Ambedkar refused it completely. So then what he did, he was able to call upon all his colleagues on the same platform all over India, and he asked him to publish it because Janpak Tadot Mandal didn't publish it. It was Periyar. It was Periyar who made the translation work of Annihilation Caste, and he distributed all over Tamil Nadu. And it was Periyar in a way, because at the time Baba Sahib Ambedkar was a rising young leader from Maharashtra, representing the voices of untouchables, and he needed a platform for him to push, a platform to get him into the other segments of the continent. So this Annihilation of Caste Tamil slang translation document was responsible. And after the third edition, Dr. Ambedkar gave a very clear thanks letter to Periyar in his foreword about his translation and its impact. And that amount of chemistry they established, even though their pathways are quite different, their approaches are quite different regarding caste eradication, regarding the concepts of empowerment of untouchables. I think both were in the same plan. So Periyar literally had its connections and has its inspiration across the progressive process across the country regarding the progressive nature and progressive type of protest, starting from Vaikom, as well as translating Annihilation of Caste, as well as his inroads into the progressive movements, even cutting across the states as well as cutting across the national boundaries.
All right, sir. So we move to the next topic. I think Periyar, I think you covered Periyar and Ambedkar, even Justice Party, you covered a lot. We have passed around 40 minutes already, so we want to wind up within 1 hour, otherwise the viewers will be less. So we move on to Anna's contribution to the nation.
See, again, every talk here is always there's a connection point with each and every respective leaders. You've seen that. We have literally seen the process
Yeah, I
of
particularly ask.
summation points of
That is a
justice
what do you call
party.
team effort. You have explained us. What I am
Yeah, so
specifically want to ask
I
is
would
like,
start. I would start with Anna with the summation point. So Periyar used to interact
okay,
with great guests, especially he had a lot of travel, and he used to visit Dr. Ambedkar regarding his discussion of his movements and for mutual transformation of thoughts. Anna was one accompanying Periyar. It was slightly documented in Kannan's book on Anna. The meeting between Dr. Ambedkar, Anna as a lieutenant of Periyar. So there was a discussion regarding the power, that is a power to be reached politically, electorally in a democratic process in order to implement all the social empowerment programs. Periyar was a person who participated in electoral politics, then came into social organization, right? That is his pathway. If you take Ambedkar's journey, evolvement of a strong social organization, then he needed a political platform in order to convert it. Okay. So the two principles had a slight, I would say, a slight difference of approach. Dr. Ambedkar wanted that we can't be dependent each time on administrators to enforce. We can't be a pressure group always. We need to engage with the people. We need to participate in electoral politics, attain our democratic principles, and implement the program of fraternity, equality, and liberty. Anna had a bright spot in Dr. Ambedkar's words. So that spot was also taken up by Anna because Anna is a well-renowned reader of democracy, similar to Dr. Ambedkar. So if you find there are only two personalities I would suggest in the entire Indian subcontinent who are more well-read across the globe about various political democracies, about various types of historical impact. It was Dr. Ambedkar as well as Aringar Anna. So Aringar Anna took the cues there, and he wanted to have a political program in order to achieve the social ends. So when I had an interaction with Dr. Kalingar during when I was a treating physician to Dr. Kalingar, I used to interact with him. I really asked what really pushed you, a group of youngsters, to move away from prayer. But Kalingar was said in a very peaceful way. He said that, see, we are all youth, vibrant youth, and we had a lot of respect for Periyar. At the same time, we had a much more greater passion for Annas. So when we used to have small discussions among us about political participation, and that discussion evolved into a structure that we decided to take another step. We were waiting for an opportunity. It is not because of independence, Black Day, announcement of Periyar, or his marriage with Mani Ammayar. It's not so. They were saying, Kalangar in his own side told that we were waiting for an opportunity to have a route, which was evident, which is bound to evolve, because we thought we should participate in this democratic process to commit our demands, because we saw Periyar used to struggle a lot, do a lot of protest, vibrant protest, create a pressure group over the ruling government to implement his agenda, right? Even though Periyar run a non-political strong organization because he thought it will dilute his principles, but he was able to maneuver in Tamil Nadu political scenario. Especially, he was able to identify Kamaraj. Once he was his district level secretary when he was in Congress, he brought in Kamaraj. He knows the entire process of Congress. So that's why he was able to bring in Kamaraj as a replacement Rajaji after the Kulakalvi Tiltam debacle. So Anna understood that we have to participate in democratic politics. So Anna's contribution in nation is our social movement will have a success as a political movement. See, many social movements fail, even many social movements fail when they evolve into a political party, right? But Anna formula or Anna structure is a success story of a social movement can be switched over to a political format. That is a very difficult, challenging part for any organization across the globe. For a social organization with strong ideals based on caste eradication, social justice, and formation of a Dravidian land, switching over into a political party. I think many of the new small organizations of Tamil Nadu are really suffered a lot when they try their political agenda, right? So it is a risk-taking maneuver by Anna. See, from 49 to 1957, it was a party for social organization. It was running the principles of Periyar, but with a linguistic touch to it, with a linguistic nature to it, with an ethnic nature to it. So that made a difference. The ethnic structure given to the core ideals of Periyar is DMK. The linguistic carving of Periyar ideals was given by Anna. It went very well. So I would relate, even though China was a communist country, China had its own way of implementing communism. It didn't borrow ideas from Russia. Or if you take Cuba, Cuba had to concept of individual socialism adapted to their needs. So Anna thought the Dravidian ethos should reflect the nature of their people, so that the politics should come from the people, from these ancestors, from the principles of the ancestors, with the modern scientific ideas should be upgraded. So it was a perfect update model as you do it in your mobile phone, right? So the Dravidian update was made by Anna, and he also made a provision in the space that the constant updates is necessary for the survival. So when they tried a lot of, Anna used to try a lot of experiments, right? He tried the experiments of supporting parties who will carry forward the Dravidian agenda. It was a miserable failure. If you see the Tamil Workers' Party, literally who took up Anna's agenda in 1952 election, Anna won nearly 43 seats. Anna's of DMK supported people went into the assembly then. Then they switch over to Congress camps. Hello, Kadir, are you there? Kadir? Kadir, are you there? Kadir, are you there? Hello? Kadir, are you there? Hello? Kadir, are you there? Hello? Kadir? Hello? Hello? Kadir? Hello? Hello?
Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, now I can hear Kadir.
Yeah, some
Is it
problem.
okay?
Some problem with the phone. Yeah,
Is it okay now?
you can.
Yeah,
Talk.
I'll continue.
You can go.
Yeah, so so that the trial sample in 1952 elections of supporting the Tamil Workers' Party turned difficult for DMK because after the winning 43 seats with the support of DMK, people switched over to Congress camps. So in 1952, Anna decided that why can't we directly enter into electoral politics? So that is a landmarking change that a social movement, grassroots activism, converting into a political format. See, Anna gave a prototype for Tamil Nadu politics, the grassroots prototype of Tamil Nadu politics. The skeleton of the structure of the any political party is the foundation plan given by Anna, where the various position posts at the level of the village level, at the level of taluk level, at the level of the district level, at the level of the top level, and aggressive grassroots activation from down onward and empowering inclusive development into the party structure is very, very important. So that's what Hanna did. He literally transformed an hierarchical system of political power. He smashed it and he translated the power down under so that the marginalized section of the society had to participate into mainstream politics. So many of the Dalit pamphlets were the starting point for DMK. They hoisted their DMK flags there in Dalit colonies where many political mainstream politics were had difficulty to enter because they were carrying the caste economy within them. It is empowerment, giving positions to them. If you see the arrival of Satyavani Muthuamma into the DMK from Republic Party, because she found there's a much more empowerment and connect with Aringaranna. And when Aringaranna opened his first district headquarters in North Madras, Arivagam, it was opened by V.S. John. Who is V.S. John? V.S. John is a Dalit intellect of Dravidian party from Kanyakumari district. It's a small district, and in order to empower, he wants to send a message to his cadres right across that we should strongly believe the principles of Dravidian ethos not by birth but by our actions. If you are a Dravidian by birth, but if you follow the Aryan doctrine, you are an Aryan doctrine. You belong to the Aryan clan, not to a Dravidian clan. Even if you are birth, if you belong to an Aryan or a Brahminical domination, suppose if you're able to come out of the shackles and accept the Dravidian ethos, we consider you as Dravidian ethos. That's the difference there. Anna was able to build an inclusive summation point because he knows it's electoral politics. He summated the backward classes and the depressed classes under the one unit of a Dravidian camp, which is the success formula for any political party in South India. It's a success plan for any political organization who want to evolve in this part of the continent. So, empowerment, down under, summation of communities under linguistic and Dravidian ethos, then participating in electoral democracy and making strategic moves in order to combat. So, see, many people think that this anti-Hindi struggle was responsible for DMK's ascent to power. That is false. In 1957 election, DMK was 15. In 1962 election, DMK number is 60. And they literally captured all the corporations. It would have been a cakewalk even if the Hindi struggle was not there. The anti-Hindi struggle had a fire, had an emotional component. See, only emotional component won't work in electoral politics. So we should have a ground base in order to accept that emotional summation point, and it is also double-edged sword. It may go any other way. Say, during the anti-India agitation struggle, Anna made a call to students to stop. But it was students who had empowered, who had educated by Anna, who fought for it. When coming to electoral politics, Anna seen that all the youngsters who participated in the anti-Hindi struggle were given empowerment. So that empowerment concept was given by a leader in order to educate youngsters, train the youngsters, and make them participatory in electoral politics and empowerment into a political space. That platform of intellectual class summiting with grassroots politics, that platform is Aringaranna. That platform it's the platform given by Anna to the nation, especially
Exactly.
on the organization point of view. See, Anna, regarding linguistic protection, Anna gave a formula to India. Regarding a development of dual language formula, Anna gave to India. The concept of federalism, which is completely thrown out in the present day rulers, everything has been paid as a lip service. The government is switched over into a unit type of government. The concept of federalism was imbibed in Tamil state, especially if you're going to talk about federalism, right from a small tea shop discussion to an intellectual discussion. Concepts of federalism, linguistic protection, caste eradication, and inclusive development. These are the various topics made to the Tamil commoner to understand the politics here. So that's why all these national parties are struggling to gain the foothold because of the grassroots information and knowledge and the political way of thinking given by Anna to the cadres down under to the people of Tamil Nadu. And this forms a platform. Now, West Bengal, Mamta's voice, I can hear Anna there. A recent article by Derek O'Brien on federalism in Hindu, I saw Anna voice there. Naveen Patnaik voice, KCR voice from Telangana, I see Anna there. So the strong regional leadership are bound to govern this country, and they'll govern better, I would say, because it's a pluralistic state. So Anna formula, I think, will help India to recover from the onslaught made by this unitary or majoritarian governments of one single party.
So the proposal of I hear my
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, the proposal for the federalism by is a basic and very India till date. That is what you mean.
Yeah, see, Anna concept of federalism is much more progressive and much more far-sighted and in a long run for the nation development when compared to the concepts of federalism given in the constitution. See, during the time of inception of the constitution, which is one of the replication of 1935 Act, the provisions for federalism was much more stronger. In 1935 Act, the Madras Presidency provision, autonomy provision, if you take the Jawaharlal Nehru's Congress speech in Srinagar, the concept of federalism was accepted by then Congress party then. It was also accepted by Rajaji then. But during the framing of constitution, we had the partition issues coming up. People thought that federalism should have a backseat and we should have the summation point. So they gave an hedge over to the center over the states. They gave an hedge over. So the constitution per se, if you have a central legislation or state legislation, if you have a conflict between a central and state legislation, the central legislation always overrides. But only during times of emergencies, famines, or external invasion. During people utilize that loophole. Utilize the loophole of emergency situations, famine, and external aggression. They are implementing the same concept in day-to-day affairs of the country. See, Dr. Ambedkar very clearly said, this is the constitution. This constitution is a good constitution. Precisely, the people who are running this constitution are good. For that matter, if the constitution is bad, it will become a good constitution if the people running the constitution are good. So we have bad players tampering this constitution, which assumed that they won't cross the limits of over aggregation of the power at the center. But if Ambedkar would have been now, he would have really shocked to see how the players of the center, manipulators of the center, depriving the state of all the powers with plethoric center and oligarchy at the state, which is very much against the foundation or the basic thrust of the constitution, and it's not good for the country too.
Exactly, sir. Sir, we are done nearly 1 hour. I think there are a lot to talk about seriously. And when we talk about Kalang, when we start talking about Kalang, we need another session definitely. So I would like to invite you to another session, sir, for Kalang alone, because he is the one who actually participated in the Ministry of India he had given a lot of great ministers to Indian Parliament, Indian government. So I would like to invite you to another session to talk about Kalingar government and Kalingar ministers in the Indian government.
Sure. We'll do it
I would like
next week, definitely. We'll definitely do it next
whenever
week.
you are possible.
Yeah, I'll text you, Kadir. Thanks, viewers,
Fine,
for the
sir.
patient hearing of 1 hour.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you again, sir. Thanks a lot.
Welcome.
All right, sir. Bye. So fine. In spite of some technical difficulties, we could pull this show till the end, and of course, there are less time in explaining a lot of things because it's a vast subject, around 100 years of history. We cannot conclude in 1 hour. So I have requested the guest, Dr. Ezhilan, to come and give his detailed information about the history, about the achievements of Dravidian ideals for you all people. Hope we'll invite him in another session in a month or so. Again, we'll sit and discuss about Kalinga's contribution to the nation as a separate topic. Thanks, viewers. Thanks for being with us more than an hour now. We'll see you again in next show, Dravidam for India. This is V Dravidian TV live. Thank you very much.